Hi there, everyone. Today I'm going to do a quick short tutorial on how to use the virtual desktop system for Sac State. To do that, you're going to need your device. You're going to have some programs downloaded. The instructions from IRT on the Sac State IRT website are excellent, straightforward, and linked through. They've really stepped up since we moved to online and really made a lot of things happen for us. So do check them out and do use them as a reference. This is just a sort of additional resource to show you how I walk through the process. So to do that, we're going to need a couple of things. You're going to have your Duo set up, which is your two-step login information, right? We're going to have to download the Global Protect VPN, which is sort of an additional security step for your internet connecting to Sac State. And then you're going to also need to download a version of, let me find the name here, of an application for accessing the virtual desktop. And it's going to depend what device you have, what works best. So all that is listed on the Sac State IRT website, and so you should be able to see it all there, but I'll go through it all step by step with you. Okay, so let's get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and show you that Sac State IRT website, and I usually just put it in my search bar. You can also give yourself a link to it or bookmark if it's easier, but they have a ton of resources. They are always available to help, and they do a lot there. So they've got resources for faculty, resources for staff and faculty, resources for students, and then there's a lot of stuff here about different stuff. This Global Protect VPN is one way to access a virtual desktop. You can also use Citrix to access the virtual desktop. I've used both in the past. Last year in March, I found Citrix to be a little bit more glitchy than Global Protect VPN, but I also know IRT's worked really hard to make this a lot better and both systems a lot easier. And then that gives you this remote computer lab access. And like I said, you do need that Duo two-step verification to access it. So if we want to find out how to get remote lab access, we can go, here's the step-by-step instructions that they give you. So what you'll need is your active SacLink account, this Global Protect VPN, remote desktop client, which is the application you'll have to download to your device, to your computer, and your Duo. You can use any popular IS, and that should work perfectly. And so the first thing you want to do is go ahead and download Global Protect VPN, which is just this, like I said, additional set of network security. So it connects your device to the university's private service. And so there are directions here for a Mac, a PC, or a Linux system. And it's really straightforward. There's also a video to walk through. I already have it loaded onto my computer. It's right up here, this little cloud, or this little, Earth icon. And so I'll go ahead and connect it. And usually when I connect it, I do have to go ahead and log in with my, sometimes I have to log in with my credentials depending on how recently I've logged in with the Duo system. And so I'll go ahead and do that. And try to not forget my password. Okay. And then just take a second to get my push notification and get through. Okay, and it looks like I have a new version. I'm not going to download it now. I'll go ahead and do that later. Staying up to date on stuff does make it a little bit easier to work. So now I've got my global VPN connected. Remote desktop client is the next application you'll want to have downloaded. And again, there's a version for Mac, a version for different, for Windows and for different iOSs. So I obviously use the one for my device. You download the one you want. And it should be pretty straightforward. And so I can show you here basically when you open up the virtual desktop, it will automatically activate that remote desktop client. And then the next step is to go to this link here, this stats.labs.csus.edu. And I have that bookmarked up here with my stuff because it's a little bit hard to find sometimes, and I find it really convenient to have it handy. But I'll go ahead and select that, and then we just select a lab and a device to set up on. So I'm going to go ahead and choose any of the computer labs and pick some available remote desktop. And I'm going to open it with my remote desktop connection, which is that application that you have to have on your device for it to work. You can see my global VPN is activated, and here's the global desktop pulling up the virtual desktop. So it'll just take a second, and then it'll get connected there. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and use my credentials again to log in. And then it's going to connect me. Oop. I'm going to go ahead and say that's okay. And then it'll open up this virtual desktop here. And so it should log in and look like, when you log into a computer lab computer, right? It's pretty standard, but there are some, files that you probably saved on the desktop for a presentation for class or something. And so that should all be there and populate for you, which is kind of nice if there's something you've been missing. And so here we go. Now I'm in that virtual desktop. So if I close out the browser, I've got my little desktop, and I can go in here and access all of the applications that would be on any campus computer or lab computer. And so I'm going to go ahead and scroll down to Stata. You can also just type it in here, Stata, and it's Stata SC14, and click open, and that's my Stata interface. It's great, right? There's one issue with using Stata on the virtual desktop. Remember, the virtual desktop is basically like a computer within your computer. And so I can't access my own files that are on my device on the virtual desktop. So what I normally do is I'll go ahead and on the virtual desktop, I'll log into my Outlook. And that allows me to access the OneDrive. And so I can put files like data files that I want to use in the OneDrive, and that'll make it easier. You can also go ahead and email yourself files and that kind of thing. But that's usually the easiest way to do it because, if I go here and zoom out, right, I have my computer with my desktop. This remote desktop is totally separate. And so I can't access any files. So if I want to say, find my 140 files, there aren't here. There are things I might have downloaded previously and documents from before, but there's not anything that's on my personal computer on the virtual desktop. So that's something that we have to account for. And this is a little preview of what Stata looks like. And so we'll be able to open files, save files, print files. This is where your output goes. This is where your variables are. And this is the command window where it shows the history of everything you've done. And then in here, we write our command. So I might say like begin a log, and it will say, I don't recognize that. You need to say something smarter. So I could pull in some data and start working with it. And that's what we'll talk about in class on Friday. So hopefully that makes it clear to you. You can always swipe back and forth between your two desktops. So my regular computer is still right here, my normal standard computer. And yeah, now I've got the best of both worlds, right? So let me know what questions you have, any concerns you might have, and I'll see you in class. Thanks so much. One more thing before I forget, I almost forgot, is I want to go ahead and show you if you are using that remote desktop, one thing you might want to do is go ahead and download the textbook editors data sets that we'll be using for a lot of labs. And so I'm just going to look up Wiley as the publisher, Coop is the author, and I'm going to put in resources. I'm just going to Google it that way. You can also get it through Canvas. But I'm going to go here, and this is analysis of economic data. Perfect. And if you scroll down, there should be student resources right here. And I can go ahead and download all the data sets in Excel into a zip file on my computer. And then that way, whenever we're doing a lab, whatever the data file is, now here it is in my on my temporary file. That's not where I want it, but I've got all of them there. So that's great, right? So now I can go ahead, and what we'll be using a lot in the future is this Forest Excel or this H-Price Excel sheet. Those are the two we've talked about in class already, the deforestation and the home prices in Canada. I'm going to go ahead and move this somewhere really useful, like my desktop or my downloads. Let's put it in my downloads file. And now here they all are. I can unzip them and I can access them easily. And then I can go back into my Stata and actually ask it to, and this is something we'll talk about on Friday, to go ahead and import one of those Excel data sheets, and it'll be right there for me, right? Where'd the file go? There we go. Oops, I guess I didn't unzip it yet. And unzip it, and then I can access it. There we go. Perfect. And I can go back to here and say, okay, yes, please, I want an Excel file. It's going to be in this folder called Data Sets, and I want to go ahead and open up that forest loss data set that we've talked about already in class. We've looked at it in Excel. Now I can look at it in Stata. There are some options here. I want to import the first row as variable names so it knows that this is a name and not a value. And now I have my data set in here. And here's my little command, import Excel file. There are my variables, and here are my commands. And I can tell it to do different things like summarize my data and so on. And that's what we'll talk about on Friday. So hopefully that helps. Hopefully that gives you a sense of what to do. That's some stuff that you can start to look at. And I'll see everyone next time. Okay? Thanks so much.